Hello, everyone, and welcome to We're Golden. This is a podcast where two women, myself, Content Kim Hodges, and
Jody Harrison Bauer,
where we share our experiences and life lessons that we've learned from our journey into our 60s and beyond.
Hi, Kim.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Kim is the young one here.
Yeah, I'm the baby. I'm 60.
Kim turned 60 in September, which seems like such a long, not that you turned 60 so long ago, but turning 60, because I just turned 63, just seems like so long ago. You know, as we get older, time seems to pass really, really fast.
Yes.
Right. And we can save that for another episode, why it seems like things go by faster as we get older, whereas we're younger, when we're 7 and 8 or 10 or 13, it seems like, oh, or when you're 4, 6, 15 and you can't wait to take your driver's license and to be 16, it's like forever.
Yeah.
But for me, it does. And I don't know if that means that time's gone by really fast, that turning 60 was a really long time ago for me, but I feel like I have had so many life experiences, ups and downs, COVID, and we were talking before we got on the show how you were in your 50s during COVID and how you felt that made a big difference in everybody's life. But how did you feel being a woman in your 50s, going through COVID and now being 60? Do you feel like all of those things impacted you and the way you feel about age and getting older?
Yes, I felt like so I was kind of going through it anyway. And when I turned 50, I didn't love my 50s. But when I turned 50,
because why didn't you like turning 50?
Because when I turned 50, I don't know when my kids left for college. I felt like it was maybe before that, but it seemed to, from 50 on, it was kind of like I was a little bit lost. Like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Because I've been taking care of kids all those years. Even when they were in college, you're still constantly going down there and you're still showing up at Parents' Day and there's still a lot of stuff to do.
You're still nurturing them. They're still coming home. You're still nurturing them. Yeah.
So when they left, for their real world jobs, it was kind of like, just what the hell? It hit me like a brick and it was not good. I kind of was floundering for quite a few years. Then COVID hit and it was like, you're stuck at home. So you get in that mode and that's a whole nother world. Like, that was a completely different world. And I was fine, I felt like then, but you don't socialize, you don't do anything. And so then when we come out of COVID, you kind of have to relearn everything a little bit. And that's right when my daughter got the job at Barstool Sports with me. Right. So that was a whole nother world, which I loved that part.
Right.
But I have to say, it kind of made it hard to navigate because it was kind of like, God, I haven't even been social for 2 years. And now I'm out here doing all this.
Right. Because that was what, 2 or 3 years ago? That was 2021, right?
2.5 years. Yeah.
So 2021 is when you started with Barstool and you drove out to New York.
Yeah. And so that was a whole different world, but I loved that. But it made me go, I don't want to go back to that spot pre-COVID where I was floundering, trying to figure out who I am and just get back in that rut of doing that. It was kind of boring. I mean, it was boring because I wasn't doing anything on my own and I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing or who I was. So I feel like now, I don't know, since I turned 60, it's kind of like I get to figure it out. And and it's all about me, kind of.
Well, I think it is. And we don't have to feel guilty about it. I think that when maybe we're in our 40s and 50s, and as we've discussed, we had our children, even though we're like 3 years apart, we had our children around the same ages. So
yeah,
I had my daughters in 89 and 93. So I was 28 and 32. So my oldest left for college in 2007. I would think that's when your son left.
He left in 09.
09. Okay. So
yeah. And then Alex left in 11.
That's when Lexi left too.
Yeah.
Right. So I was 2011, I was 50. So you were only 47. When Alex left. Right. So were you going through menopause or what was going on in your physical life? Like, were you just when Alex left, were you going through menopause? What was going on?
No, because I had a full hysterectomy.
How old were you?
Let's see, I did it in 2013. So yeah,
Yeah, so you were 49,
yeah.
right?
I was thinking I did that before she left, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I did remember Michael was still in college though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the best day of my life actually, because before that I had PMS so bad and
Oh,
terrible
did you?
cramps.
So is
So
that why
two
you
weeks
had
out of
this?
every month I was just non-functioning.
Wow. Wow. I never had that. I was competing, and I remember going through the same thing. So my story is a little bit different, but similar to yours in that because I got divorced in 2002,
Mhm.
that was sort of my wake up call to me to start creating a new Jody. But
Yes.
while I was doing that, my girls were only 9 and 13 when I got divorced.
And was
So,
that hard because you were still in that mother mode,
oh,
but not married anymore. So that's a huge identity, like being a
very,
wife.
very, very hard. Very, very hard because I was only known as Mrs. Harrison. I kept my two last names are my ex-husband and my now husband. I should just go to just Jody and just keep it that way. Because who knows what's going to happen in the future.
Like
Anyway,
share.
yeah, I should just be Jody. So, yeah, that was a really trying time for me. And being 42, I thought I was old, but now I realize how young I was. It was 21 years ago. And trying to figure out who I wanted to be and being there in the same way or in a better way than I was before my divorce, because I needed to show them how strong I was, how resilient I was, and show them that you can be this woman who could have a job and also be a stay-at-home mom. But let me tell you, for every woman listening right now who works full time, and I did not go back to work full time at all. I was working very part-time. Um, who works full time and is raising a family, I don't know how you do it because it's very hard. And to also be present if you're married and you want to be present in your romantic relationship. So you have to be a mom, you have to be a wife or a significant other, and then you are this completely other entity at work. I think that would be very overwhelming. So for me, um, my strength came from being the best mom that I could be. And I did my work and worked on myself in the pockets I've had time when the girls were in school. So yeah, that was very transitional for me. And then I started competing in fitness shows, which started giving me confidence and identity. And then I started going through menopause at 48, and I started competing at 47.
Wow.
So as I was opening up my first studio at 50, I was like night sweats, hot flashes, in a relationship with somebody. Um, he was
That's a lot to navigate.
it was so much. I look back, my life was so chaotic, but I was always, and that relationship turned into a lot of toxic stuff because he wanted to be with me all the time. And I said, no, 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 no. This is my time with my daughter. Alyssa was already in college. I'm never going to have this time with Lexi for 4 years all alone.
Hmm.
I'm never giving this up. And if you don't want to date me anymore, then don't date me. And it went on back and forth like that until like
Yeah, that's
2014.
good you handled it that way because I can just through the years, people that I've watched when they get divorced kind of go off the deep end for a while. And some people
Hmm.
it can be a year, 2 or 3. Some people just months.
Yeah, I've
But
seen it. I've seen it
yeah.
myself. And it really, going through a divorce is hard enough on the parents, but then the children, and my ex-husband, and I'm not disrespecting him here, my ex-husband got engaged 6 months after we got divorced. So that really screwed things up. The girl, that
Yeah.
was really tough, and then got
Added one more
divorced.
person into that little.
Yeah, yeah. So when it came to my 50s, um, to me, it was really messy because I was ending the toxic relationship. Lexi went off to college. So it was me and my new business, Jody Fit, and I was in the throes of menopause.
Hmm.
And to me, I loved my 40s. I would never want to repeat my 50s, at least from 50 to 54. Those were the toughest years. And then I started coming into my own after I finished menopause. And I had because I had a lot of mood swings and I wasn't on bioidentical hormones or anything like that. Did you ever
Yeah.
have to be on hormones?
When I left after that hysterectomy, they gave me a patch and I've just been on one since then.
Okay, so that's got the whole cocktail of what you need.
It was just, no, it's just the estrogen. So I mean, I've gone through things where I do a DHEA spray that I started right when I had the hysterectomy. And
Okay.
then, occasionally, so they added, a tiny bit of hormone cream, the men estrogen, no,
Testosterone.
testosterone. That, and I have to take like 1/8 of what they say, or it drives me nuts. Like I can only
That
do the
happened to me.
tiniest
That
little
happened to
bit.
me too. That happened to
Yeah.
me too. And it was in front of my daughters and I went crazy.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
like, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "I think I'm taking too much testosterone." I was taking what the doctor had
Yeah.
suggested. Now I take a minute amount as well.
Yeah. I don't even know if it helps, but I just go mentally, it's probably like a libido. I mean,
Well, yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, just think about it. And I
Like
just go,
a
okay.
little enough for a libido to happen,
Yeah.
to have a libido. Yeah, I know. It is interesting going through the different stages. And, you also during your 50s, once you've either had a hysterectomy and are on hormones, I went through menopause, was not on hormones, and you just start seeing, like, you do, like, what is my purpose? Where do
Mhm.
I fit into everybody's life now? Who are the friends that I really feel good being around? For me, all of my friends changed because my
Yes.
life changed. So I lost all my friends.
Which is so
Um,
bizarre to me.
it's
But
so
it just
sad.
happens when people, I mean, it happened to my mom and they've been divorced. They got divorced 35 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Same thing. They like, if your friends are married, they go with the guy. It's
Well,
just how it is.
they went
It's,
with my ex-husband because he had a fiance already. So since I was just dating, so I was
yeah.
like slutty to
Yeah.
them because I was dating. And I never left my daughter's home so I could go on a date. I was just a very present mother. Um, that they were threatened by me being around. I can say that very honestly right now. They were threatened by the new Jody, the
Really?
more outgoing Jody, the sexier Jody, the more authentic Jody, not the Jody who was the stay-at-home mom who didn't ruffle any feathers. I
Well,
was
you still weren't ruffling any feathers. That was just an insecurity on their part.
right, but I had to deal with it
Yeah.
and we used to go to all these dinners, and then I had gotten a boob job and they did not like that. So here comes Jody and her new boobs. And I had only gone to a C. I wasn't even as big as I am now. And they were like, "Oh, there's Jody and her boobs, her brand new boobs." I'm like, "Get over yourself. It's 2003, 2004. Like, get over yourself." And it wasn't until like 5 years after I got divorced that I had to eliminate myself from that toxicity. It
Yeah,
wasn't
that
working
is
for me.
toxic.
I had changed. They didn't welcome the new Jody. And for all the women listening right now who have gone through a divorce, I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying. And maybe if I had a fiance at the time, they would have gone with me, but he had the
I think
fiance.
they go with who their husband goes with. That's just the stronger,
That might be
like
it
they can do stuff with you on their own, but it just seems like that's how it goes
when it comes to couples, right?
when it comes
Yep.
to couples. And I don't know why,
Yep.
but that's just how it goes.
I had two couples that stayed friends with both me and him, and we're
Yeah.
still friendly with them, which is
Yeah.
really nice, really, really nice. Probably because our daughters are best friends and it's through the kids, but
Yeah.
it's independent of the kids. We're all still friendly.
And also, I
Um,
think people like, if you were the first person in your group to get divorced, they didn't know that your friends didn't know anything about it. So it's definitely a challenging time.
I would love to hear from the women or the men listening right now,
Hmm.
who has gone through a divorce. Did you lose your friends? If you're a woman or the man, did you keep all your friends? And did your friends accept you as the new person? And I didn't know that I was becoming a new person. I just was evolving into the woman I wanted to become, and I
And see,
liked
and your
her.
divorce was different, I think, because it wasn't infidelity on either side.
No,
So
no.
it was just you wanted, it was just you needed to change. Like that was what your deal was. But where everyone I know that's gotten divorced, there's been infidelity, and
Oh,
that makes it easier to pick a side
yes, because you
because you
always go
kind of
to
go, yeah,
this.
he's a jerk and he's out, so we're
He's a
just sticking.
cheater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be easy for me too. The hardest thing was one of our closest friends. They knew him before they knew me, and they said, "Jode, we have to pick a side." The and then this past April, I ran into them at my ex-father-in-law's funeral, and she and I have gotten back in touch
Oh,
after
good. I
all
like that
of
she told
these.
you that though.
He
Instead
did,
of
yeah.
just blowing you off or not answering you, she said we have to pick a side, and this is where we're going.
I know it was heartbreaking, but I remember going, "Okay, I get it, like,
Hmm.
that's fine." Yeah. So and that seems to happen. A lot of women get divorced, after in their 40s, after 15 to 17 years of marriage. If you check out a lot of your friends who have gotten divorced, it's usually at that 17-year mark, and they're usually in their early 40s.
Hmm.
My advice to anybody listening right now, if you have been married for over 30, 35 years, um, don't get divorced unless your person is abusing you, or there is terrible infidelity, or there's terrible toxicity that's bad for you mentally and physically. But if it isn't, just try to get along as well as you can, because, you know,
The
you
grass
marry.
isn't always greener.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't leave for a greener grass, but like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get divorced after 60, um, but my now husband was married for 35 years, and you just you'll lose a lot of money. That's all I'm going to say.
You lose a
Is
lot of money, and you know it's funny. Okay, so
so there's
if it's infidelity, the whole thing before it gets to that point is figure that out first. Like
right.
this is so my dad was always messing around on my mom, and I was with him yesterday, and I said, and I videoed it. I said, what what would yourself now tell your 30-year-old self? And he
Mm,
said, well, and he's a big Christian, so he reads the Bible. He said,
mm,
I would read the Bible, and it seems to me you need to interpret it into your life. Like he goes, the part about relationships with women, he said, I wish I had been reading it more then and applying it to my life, because you shouldn't
oh,
have any relations with women when you're married. And I go, well, did you not know that, Dad? Because
right.
that's called screwing around on your wife. Like that's having an affair. And he goes,
Well, those are wedding vows, Dad.
yeah. He said, no, I mean, like he was saying, even a close friendship that gets, it just builds and builds and builds. Like
Agree.
if I had known that, he probably would have saved himself quite a few affairs and a divorce.
Mm, mm-hmm.
But I was, and he kept going. I go, does that mean I can't have any guy friends? Is that what you're saying? And he
Mhm.
said, no, you just can't get intimate. And I was like, and he meant not like not just sex, but just
Emotion,
becoming intimate.
emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
Like if
He
you,
said that's bad. And I'm thinking
it
he just
is.
didn't, he probably didn't even know the difference between that back because he's 91 when he was 30.
Right, 60
Because
years
people didn't
ago.
talk about that stuff and he's a
Uh-huh.
guy.
Right.
But he said the the damage it does to your life
Mhm.
is the most severe.
Mm.
And I was like, if you could have just kept your dick in your pants.
Right, right. And you know what? He's, obviously very right about that, that if you're, and I always say, if you're unhappy in the marriage, more than likely the other person is not happy either.
Mhm.
And probably 60 years ago, people were not going for therapy.
Mhm.
So they weren't talking about their feelings. So they really were at a disadvantage. I do think um, that generation, you didn't see a lot of divorces. So I think it is unusual to have parents. My parents are both gone, but my dad would be 93 right now. Um, they didn't get divorced. They just stayed miserably married.
Well, see,
And that,
so that in Oklahoma had one of the highest divorce rates at this time.
why?
I don't know. It was in the 80s, so it could have been like the oil boom bust kind of thing.
Oh,
But it was
okay.
like a lot of women, I do think this. I don't know if this is everywhere, but in the Midwest, I would say It's like they would just brush it underneath the rug at that
Mhm.
age
Mhm,
back
mhm.
then. They
Right.
don't want to know about it, but he kept doing it to
Yes.
where he was going to
Where
get caught. So like, why did he do that? But they would just brush it under the rug until it
yes.
was out in the public and you had no choice.
Right. And so I think what happened with our generation is that all of us, now my parents weren't divorced. Nobody in my family was divorced. Nobody. If you told me that I was going to get divorced one day, I would tell you absolutely not. Um, but I think what happened is our generation, the baby boomers, saw that maybe our parents were miserable and
Hmm.
said, I'm not going to be like that. So I'm going
Yes.
to get out when shit hits the fan or I'm unhappy. So if I feel, see that thumbs up thing? It's my father. He knows I'm talking about him. And as soon as I feel unhappy, I'm not going to do what my parents did. And I think it took it to the extreme.
I
And
think
now
so
I think
too.
the other generation, like our children, that's why they're all waiting longer to get married because they've seen how many of their friends or their parents and people in their lives have gotten divorced. So hopefully we'll see a
The
return.
other side of that.
Right, but at least they're
Or the
talking
middle,
about
the
their feelings.
middle.
The middle, right? It doesn't have to be to that extreme. Like nobody should stay in a relationship where they're miserable. But if we go back to what we were saying before about menopause, so the worst thing I think a woman could do is get divorced during menopause because you are just not, your hormones are just controlling everything and it's a friggin' shit show. And so I did it before I went through menopause. And so I was dating while I was going, was postmenopausal and going through menopause with a toxic person. So you add all those things together and it was
Yeah.
toxicity to the limit. Um, and I think just getting older, hopefully we have some wisdom, through these experiences. As you said at the beginning of the show, when you did the intro, that we're going to be sharing our life experiences and hopefully bringing some value to what we've experienced to help all of you listening. So if you are going through menopause right now, or you're having terrible periods, see a doctor. Maybe you need a hysterectomy. Maybe you need to go on hormones. Nobody was talking about hormone replacement therapy when I was going through menopause. And probably if you didn't have the hysterectomy, they would have never suggested hormone replacement therapy
No,
because,
no, no.
but that is
Mm-mm.
normal that if you have to go on hormone replacement therapy after a hysterectomy or do
Oh no,
some.
I had a doctor tell me numerous times. This was whenever she said, when you have PMS and you feel this bad,
Mhm.
it's like your husband coming home every day and you hitting him over the head with a bat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why does he
right.
want to come home to that? And I'm kind of like, well, I don't know what the hell to do. Like, help me here. And
I
at
know.
some point, she's like, you need to go see a therapist. And I'm like, this is
Mhm.
not fucking talk therapy.
Right, right. And that's the other thing. I'm so glad you brought that up because that is something the other generation has become very aware of because we have social media platforms where we can talk about it. So there are women in their 40s complaining about being perimenopause and, funny TikTok things about them and their husbands, and now women in menopause. At first, it drove me crazy because I was like,
Mhm.
you guys didn't invent perimenopause or menopause, so shut up. But I've that sounds really, really mean, so don't hold that against me. But now I'm I have a different mindset. It's like I'm glad they're talking about this because we need as much education.
And the
Period.
younger ones can see it. They think it's funny and they know they're coming. They're not
Yes.
into it yet. But since we're on the other side of it, we're like, oh, well, that's just minute compared to the shit we went through, right?
Right, right. And that's why I say on my on Instagram, like you don't have to suffer through this stuff like we did. You don't have to suffer, ladies. You don't have to
Mm-mm.
suffer and feel like Kim did, where she wanted to come home and like hit her husband over a bat. I'm not saying you ever did that, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And
Yes.
whether you're
I
divorced or married or single or whatever your situation is, and if you're in your mid 30s, perimenopause is right around the corner.
yeah.
It's a coming, girls. It's coming. So be prepared. It's like anything, even you've been working out your whole life. I've been working out my whole life. That has set us up to feel better in our bodies now that we're in our 60s. So we're
Hmm.
not chasing fitness. We're not chasing health. We're not chasing any of those things. And we're not saying that it's too late because it's never too
No.
late, but it's like being on top of perimenopause and menopause. Like get your blood work done, find out if you're deficient in any hormones, look into hormone replacement therapy. So when you do go into perimenopause, or if you are perimenopause, you'll know where to go. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, it's not your OBGYN, it's a hormone expert. And being prepared so you're not chasing it like I did, because I didn't start until I was 60.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw a friend who also had a hysterectomy, who was starting to take, she was turning 50. She was 10 years younger than me. And I'm like, wait a minute, you look really good. What are you doing?
Mhm.
And she said, I started hormone replacement there. I'm like, son of a gun, I'm going to look into this. And I was so happy that I did, because if you wait too long, and I don't know what the too long age is you can't
The
optimize your hormone levels.
and the damage is kind of done maybe.
I don't know if yes, so
Or not
it's
or the
hard to keep run
with
after it.
yeah.
And that's what
But
I
so
was doing.
but with that said, so I did have there's a so like when I had my hysterectomy, they took everything, ovaries and everything.
Mhm.
Where and then they say, I don't know what this is, but there's this fine line of how long you should be on a hormone replacement if you still have your uterus or
Probably
something.
ovaries.
So because of uterine cancer or ovarian cancer. So that's the one thing you have to be careful about. You should ask your doctor, because I didn't know what to do. So my OBGYN and my primary care doctor, I was like, you all figure it out. They were arguing about it. And
Yeah.
then they went with the whole thing. So since then, a cancer doctor that's a friend said, because people were like, you need to get off hormones after you've been on that long. And she said, did you have a complete hysterectomy? And I said, yes. And she said, you don't need to worry.
Right.
But if I'd had parts left, I may have to worry.
Right, right. So that's for your hysterectomy. And also, I know, and neither Kim or I are doctors, so please make
Yeah.
sure that you do your research. We're just sharing our experiences. And I'm just going to plug Fearlessly Authentic for a second, because in August I had my hormone doctor on there, who's an MD and a naturopath who specializes in hormone replacement therapy, in August. And they both spoke about it. And those are like one of the top rated shows, because people just got so much information. And so if you want to listen to those, just go to Fearlessly Authentic anywhere you listen to podcasts. Um,
I think the
but
point to all that is don't ever stop trying. If you don't feel good and one doctor doesn't work, find another one. Don't feel like you can't.
right, and then get second and third
Yeah.
opinions. Like,
Yeah.
just don't go to somebody who's going to tell you. But I do know that if you've had cancer of
Hmm.
some sort, you may not be eligible to take hormone replacement therapy. But it does definitely help get through the messy 50s. And as I said, the 50s, when I think about it, it's middle age. And I refer to it as the messy middle. The
Yeah.
messy middle. You've got the sandwich, you got the bun, and you've got the messy middle food in the center of it, and then you've got the other bun. So I think the bun was like 20s, 30s, 40s. Then you get the messy middle. You're an empty nester. If we're going like Kim and I were, like, you're having your kids in your 20s and in your early 30s. The messy middle is in your 50s. Menopause, empty nester, maybe kids are getting married, whatever, or moving far away. And then once you hit, your
Yeah.
60s,
So I was listening to Jodie Foster, and she said she didn't love her 50s either, which I keep hearing a lot, and I think it's kind of reassuring. But she said,
the
You're
messy
not sure
middle.
who you're not sure who you are, you're confused, you compete with your old self, you wonder if you're a relative." And she said she thinks when you turn 60, there's a hormone that shoots through your body, and all of a sudden you're happier because just nothing matters anymore. It's kind of like it's all okay. Like, I got it.
Yeah, it's like we've been through so much crap. We can handle this, and we're going to handle it like a pro, because we've been through this so many times. That's not to say that stuff
Mm.
doesn't hit us
No,
under
but
the
we have more
belt.
compassion for ourselves after everything you've gone through. Like these changes,
Yes.
because there's a lot. Somehow you go, I'm going to own it, and I'll be compassionate with myself about it. And
Hmm.
maybe it's because you can finally go, it's okay that I'm going to be compassionate with myself after I've been compassionate with everyone else all these
Yes,
years.
that's a great point. Giving yourself grace
Hmm.
after all of these years when you were so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and beating ourselves up for maybe every situation. And if, maybe you're not that kind of person, maybe you always gave yourself grace, and God bless you if you did. Um,
And that goes along with what you about your body positivity also.
Hmm. Right. It all
Like just
comes,
how you look even,
well,
accepting the changes.
okay. So that's great that you brought that up. So here we are in our 60s, and we're talking about all the hormone imbalances. And for the most part, I think Kim and I have figured out with our physicians how to balance our hormones. We have always been healthy and fit, so we didn't have to chase after that. So we put ourselves, maybe I know I didn't know that I would feel this way in my 60s, but we set ourselves up for success, right? So
Mhm.
in anything that we want to do, whether it's raising kids or in our job, we always want to set our for me being a trainer to women, I always want to set my clients up for success. So whether we thought about it or not, we've already set ourselves up for success. So, and I think Jodie Foster says basically the same thing, where it's not that you don't care, it's just that you've done so much, you're at a point where you're not letting anything bother you. But going back to your point about body positivity. So if you feel good about yourself and you could give yourself that compassion and that grace, and you're working out and you're eating healthy and you have healthy relationships with people in your life, then and having living in that vessel of our body, feeling good in that's just a wonderful way, mind and body, to present ourselves to the world. We feel good about it, we feel positive about it. And
Mhm.
so if you're not at that point where you feel like you're at a great point with the way you feel in your body, there are things you can do about it, because we don't want you to feel bad about it when you shouldn't feel bad about it at all.
No. No, I've always dealt with like arthritis and stuff, and I'm always going to find that I have restless legs, so I search for everything. But my husband told me, the doctor that we see now, he said, "Do you know what he calls you?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "He calls you the $1,000,000 experiment." And I said, "I'm taking that as a compliment,
Now,
and I'm not going to feel bad about
why
it."
does he call you that?
Because I don't I just go see any doctor I can to get what I need help for.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's really,
He did
really
also say,
smart.
maybe he goes, I said, I think I have, I was really dizzy when I was out of town. It felt a little bit like vertigo. And he said,
Mm.
he talked through it. And then he goes, I think what you need to do is go out and buy some more real expensive, supplements.
Your
As a
husband
joke,
said
kidding
that?
me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, the doctor did. He was
Oh,
just
he
kidding me,
did.
but I was kind of like, he's very black, he's kind of old school a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, this works and this is what I'm taking.
You know what? Uh,
You have to
supple
fight for yourself to the point of that.
you do, and you can't accept everything that you read. You have to go see the doctors. When everybody, asks me like about the hormones that I take, I tell them, like, I'm not a doctor and you need to do your own research. And even when I had my tummy tuck last year, I interviewed 10 doctors because I needed to know which one. I needed to hear the same answer from like 5 or 6 of them. Yes, you need a full tummy tuck. No, you need a partial tummy tuck. It's going to cost this much. This is what is it called? The afterwards. Why can't I think of, okay, word retrieval. What's the
Wait,
word?
afterwards.
Yeah, like after you
The
have surgery.
results?
Not the result. Recuperation.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the recovery time. And, and once I heard the same thing over and over again, I knew, okay, I need a full tummy tuck. Okay, now what doctor do I want to see? And and then you get closer and closer, but just don't believe everything you read or hear on the internet. And you've got to do your due diligence.
Yes.
This is your body, this is your life, and these are your decisions to make. And if anybody in your life tells you you don't need to gain weight, lose weight, or they don't think you need plastic surgery, or they don't think, at the end of the day, you are a grown ass woman and you need to make those decisions and weigh out the pros and cons of everything, because there are cons to everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there are for sure. I kind of did the same thing with my facelift. Like I researched all these doctors and all these things. But I will say, like when you just said that about the people being negative about it, about your weight or whatever, lose weight, don't lose weight.
Right.
Um, and I'd forgotten this until one of my friends said, Alex sure looks skinny. And I said something to Joe and he goes, Alex looks exactly like you did at that age. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Like I was that thin. I could wear that size. I could do all that. It was just natural for me. It wasn't, I mean, I worked out all the time and I ate.
Right.
I've always eaten
But you're
really
not
well.
naturally, but genetically, you
Yeah.
are naturally thin.
Thinner. So yeah.
Right.
And when my friend said that, I was kind of like, I kind of was like, oh my God, Alex, you got to gain weight. And then when I said that to Joe
No.
and he said that to me, I was like, that's what perception of other people's comments will do for you. So
Right. So,
creates doubt and you go, am I too skinny? Am I too big? And it's like, that's
mhm.
not their thing. It's yours.
Well, even when I was competing in fitness shows, I had people say, "Don't you think you're putting out a little too much muscle?" And I'm like, "No, this is what I want to do." The old Jody would have been like, "I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Should I not do it? I don't know. I don't know." Like my hair used to be really short, like Sharon Stone short. These are extensions. But every hairdresser I went to said, "No, you're a little person. You should wear short hair." And I said, "But I don't want to have short hair." So I started going into the city and having my hair, grow out and having somebody there because they're like, "No, you can wear long hair." And here I am, an inch shorter than I was back in my 30s and 40s with hair down to my back.
Yeah.
So you've got to, and this is what's lovely about being in your 60s is that you're not going to give a lot of time into what other people think about you anymore. It's not that we don't care, because I think everybody does care to a degree. We
Hmm.
don't not give a shit. It's just that we know who we are more, so we can stand in our truth more.
Yes, I think that's true.
So we were going to touch on body positivity and talk about a little bit about plastic surgery today too. But I think that was a good segue of taking what we went through in our 40s and 50s and now hitting our 60s. So
So
you
I have
meant,
one story about that.
yeah, go ahead.
So Alex was still maybe in elementary school, and I had a boob job. So
I'm going to ask you if you ever had your boobs
yeah,
done.
I did, but I was as flat as I've always been as flat as a board,
No.
always my whole life. So then after I had both my kids, I was kind of like, I really want to do this. When I did it, I'm not kidding you. I almost went back to the doctor and had them taken out. I felt so gross.
Wait, how old were you and what size did you go to?
I went to a C.
Okay, that's what I did. Now,
Yeah.
again, going back to the way your daughter looks, were you built exactly like
Yeah. Oh
Alex
yeah.
in that
Like
way? Okay.
Alex fit perfectly in my wedding dress.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and I felt so, I don't know. I just felt terribly guilty. Like I would call my friend and go, I don't think I can deal with this. Like this feels so vain and so selfish and so like against everything that I kind of stand for, like, be yourself or whatever. And I'm like, that's not myself. But
But it is.
when I did my facelift, I was like, I just watched a video that I made and I said, I thought that I would go down that same path with this.
Yep.
Not at all. It was kind
Yay.
of like, who cares? I mean, I'm glad I did it. I wanted to do it and it's not hurting anything. I don't know why I couldn't have that attitude then that I
How
did
old
now.
how old were you when you had it done?
My boot, let's see. I must have been
40s?
probably in my 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was 42 when I had my first one. Have you only
Yeah.
just had one?
Well, I went back not long ago and had them made smaller. Um, but I'm still a C. It was just like a smaller C, I guess. And put in before I had saline, and this time I think it's silicone.
Silicone, right. So
But
my
it was
first
like it was way past the year. It was at 20 years. I don't know. It was way
20
past.
years?
Well, if I just let's see, if I did
Wait,
that in my 40s,
the salines could stay in there longer. It's the silicones I think you need to take out more often. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I had
I don't
saline
know
first too. And then so I had
because
my
they
first.
weren't even doing. I didn't even have an option then.
No, there was no
Yeah.
option. They had taken the silicone off the market. So we were within like a couple of years of each other of getting our boob jobs. And I'm going to be right behind you on the facelift.
It looks like 97,
90.
1997.
Okay. And I had
So
mine in,
Alex would have been only 93, 93, 4, 5, 6, 7. She would have been 4.
Oh,
That's probably why I
wow.
felt guilty.
That's probably why. Yeah.
I
Well,
was like, mommy can't hold you.
right, right. Well, I had mine after the divorce and I went to camp. So the girls were away at camp for the summer and it was parents' night. Now I went from a B to a full C. So it was not a big jump. I was not flat chested. Um, and my oldest daughter, who was only 13, and we had just gotten divorced. It was 6 months afterwards. Matter of fact, her father was the one who took care of me, but that's for another episode. We were thinking about getting back together again 6 months after. And then he got engaged right after I said, no, we can't get back together. Yes, yes. You can't make this stuff up. So that was my oldest. Alyssa was so upset because she just started developing because she was she, everything
She was so
developed.
upset that you got a boob job
She
or
was so
that your
upset
dad
that
was getting engaged.
well, both, but that didn't
Both.
happen until after the boob job. So,
Okay.
she was upset that I got the boob job because she hadn't developed fully yet. She was about 2 years behind. So she was 13. So she had like really nothing going on. She had just gotten her period. So she was upset. But when I think back, it was hardly even a change. So in 2008, I went back and I got double D's.
Oh my God.
I went from a C to a double D, competed, and then in 2017 I had a lift, kept the double D's, so took out the stuff, and then I had him do a lift. I never had the lift, but they were starting to bottom out, so I looked
Hmm.
humongous, like
Yeah.
ridiculous. And so now I have the lifted double D's in my body, and I'm thinking about going down to a C in a couple of
I don't
well,
know.
first,
Does it go C, D, double D?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I'm just going to go to a full C, and those are the ones I'll be buried in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always
You're
talk
done.
about I'm going to have a really tight face, a really flat stomach, and great tits when I'm put into that coffin. So I'm like, girls, these are the ones I'm going to be buried in. But
What was it? You sent me the article that somebody said they want to age disgracefully.
oh yeah, who was that? Was that Cher? No, who
No,
was
it was the
that?
dark-headed girl that was on the Housewives that's married to Harry Hamlin.
Oh yeah, Lisa Rinna.
Yeah.
Lisa Rinna. So, as you can see, everybody, we are sharing our plastic surgery stories here with you. So, Kim and I have both had boob jobs. I had like a lower facelift in when I was 58, so 2019. And I need because I look across at this beautiful woman here every
Was
single week who's just her face is so freaking tight. I hate her. Um, I had my upper lids done. So I need this has been 5 years. So it's time for the full on facelift. So I'm gonna actually go
and see, I
see.
think you look awesome and don't need it, but that doesn't
Thank
matter. It's
you.
all what you want to
Right.
do.
And that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? So when you
Hmm.
told me you were getting a facelift when we first met, I was like, this woman's face is perfect. She
You're
does not
sweet.
need anything. Um, but it comes down to standing in your truth, not listening
Yeah.
to what other people. Obviously, if you have a significant other, you want to make sure they're on the same page as
Yeah.
you and are there for you in any way because you live with them and having a relationship with them. And,
And, and
you
if you
know,
do it right, honestly, I don't think most people would notice that I had one that didn't, that like,
no
that,
way.
that sees you every day. They just, I mean, most people don't sit there and stare at your flaws. They don't even notice them. Like when I look at my friends, I still see them like I did
30 years
in our
ago.
20s, 30s, and 40s, don't you?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I do. I do very much. I have a friend I've been friendly with since fifth grade. Yes, I still see her the same way.
Yeah. You don't go, oh, you look old and wrinkled. You go, you still
No.
look the same to me. Like it's just your personality shows through on your face. So I don't think most people that you know notice it.
And if you have a good surgeon, they're going to tell you that because one of the things is like we all want to look our best. It's not about looking
Younger.
younger. It's not about that, Kim and I have daughters the exact same age. We don't want to look like them. We just want to
No.
be our best version of ourselves right now.
And I think that's the big thing that is
The misconception, the
The
misunderstanding.
misconception with a lot of the stuff on social media, because
Mhm.
I think like everyone getting their lips done and no one out there is saying doing a lot of stuff in your lips, you're going to have to keep it up. No one's saying that part of
Right,
it,
right.
or whatever the stuff they put in their jaw, these things that they're doing to look kind of the same, or what's in style or whatever.
What's ever trending,
What's
right?
trending, but there used to never be anything trending except for longer or darker eyelashes or
Like
heavier
with
this
Brooke
or that.
Shields,
Nothing.
when like Brooke Shields, she brought the bushy eyebrows,
Yeah.
right?
But it
Yeah.
wasn't like anything like physically done to your face. It was just how you did your makeup or how you did your hair.
Right.
And
Well, it's a different world now.
but I think a lot of the stuff people start doing it so young, it's kind of going to be really bad in the long run. And
I
it's
agree.
also scary at that age because you go, this is you, even if you're on you, I mean, you go down the rabbit hole of social media. It's easy to get on there and just keep looking and looking and looking.
Mhm.
But if you're young and you're on your phone that much, imagine that age having that in your face. If I had that
And
on my face when I was in my 30s, I would probably think I was fat and ugly. I don't know.
right, and being a little insecure, because who isn't still insecure a bit in your 30s? I don't care what they all say, but I also think, to your point, I also think that if you do too much too early, yes, you have to keep it up, but I also feel that it makes a lot of these girls in their 30s look 10 years older. It's
I
like,
think
what are
so
you
too.
guys doing? Stop wearing so much makeup. I'm so happy that my daughters, your daughter doesn't seem to wear a lot of makeup either.
Mm-mm.
We don't wear a lot of makeup. And I like that,
Yeah.
my daughters don't color their hair, it's just, it's, we're
And
not,
you
and
get it.
I'm not standing here saying we've got perfect daughters, because
No, no, God,
we
no.
don't, we don't.
God,
But we're
no. No.
we're just saying that um just slow down. Don't try to be too much for everything or everyone, and just go at your own pace and enjoy this youthful time in your life. Because sometimes when you do too much, it makes you look older. And when you're our age, the
You
last
don't need
thing we
any
want,
help.
right? We don't need any more help. Like, on TikTok, there's this trend. And I don't know if you've seen it, but you could put the aging trend, what you're going to look like in 30 years. I did it. I can't even post it. It's so awful.
I need
I,
to do it. I thought I did it at one point and didn't post it. Obviously, I didn't like it.
I
But I
just,
think
I
I was
couldn't.
thinking that's bullshit.
I was like, oh my God. So I love it when these 30-year-olds are doing it and what they'll look like in their 60s. It's like, guys, it's the beginning of freedom in your 60s. So
Yes.
it's not for us to do. So a few comments we just wanted to point on is about the plastic surgery is, and we've mentioned it, is that it's your own personal journey.
Yes.
And that, you know, what Kim and I are doing now, it's we went on our own journey of our own surgeries, whatever we've done, and we've shared them with you. And I hope that us sharing what we've gone through, and we can go into more detail about our experiences if you want, um, that you share them with other people, because there are so many misunderstandings about cosmetic surgery, and people hating on you for doing it. And at the end of the day, it's only that you are living with yourself. Nobody else is walking in your shoes except for you. And so it's interesting to hear that you felt bad getting the boob job when at that age, and how you feel differently when you had your facelift, because you're not the same person. You've grown.
Mm-hmm.
You are much more evolved than you were back then. And I want everybody to feel that way. But the people are getting facelifts younger and younger though, Kim. They're getting them in like their 40s.
Really?
Yeah.
I think every doctor I went to was like 50's a good in your 50s. I mean, wait, late
I,
50s is
I
good.
heard I heard 54.
Yeah. And then I mean, but 60 by far is not too late.
No,
I don't know.
no.
I don't know if there is a time. Well, I did have one doctor say for your what you pay to get a facelift and how many years you have left, you need to like figure that out.
Well, right. That's why when I had this lower lift done, It wasn't, you had the deep plane facelift. I did not have that. I just had the lower done and it was not deep plane. And he did say to me, you're going to need a facelift 5 years from now.
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
oh, I am. He's like, yeah, this is. And then I said, am I going to need another one after that? He goes, well, how long do you want to live? I
Yeah.
said, till 100. He goes, you might need two more."
Yeah.
I'm like,
She said you'll
okay.
be back. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm coming back for another one. She goes,
Yes, you
this
will.
was before I had it done. She goes, yes, you will. And I said, no, I won't.
What do you think now? Do you think you would in 15 years,
I don't
12,
know. I'm
15
still on
years?
that since I'm only 6 months out. You kind of go through that thing where at first you're really tight because you're so swollen. And
Yes.
then the swelling starts to go down. Even Joe was like, wow, it's kind of loosening up a lot. Do you
Oh
think you did it?
no, he did not say that.
He did. And I was like, no, I
Oh,
think it'll be okay. But
oh my
it's so
God.
funny because when he first saw me, he was like, God, you look like a mannequin because your face is so tight. And then you kind of go back to where you look, like you look like you're in your upper age. You're not, otherwise I would be so tight. I look like a Barbie doll
And you couldn't move your face.
and that wouldn't be any good either. But to go from where I was to now, I think it's good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I mean, like, I don't think my mom at 83 needed a facelift and she hadn't had one. I think she looks great. So I
She
don't
had one at
know.
83.
No, she's never had one.
Oh,
She'd
okay.
like to
No,
have one at 87. Right now she's 87. And
she doesn't need it.
I'm like, why would that see now that person, if she found a doctor that did it, they maybe need to be shot.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, are you going to share your before and after?
I got all the videos made that because I went through I recorded everything like for the first month and a half or 2 months
Mm-hmm.
just to show it's kind of that's a whole lot of change through there. I know I'll
Yeah.
get raked over the coals when I share it
No,
because
you
it's going to
better
be a whole
not.
because you look terrible, like you're bruised all over. You look like you've been hit with a bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I need to do a little more follow up because you still even 6 months out. I'm just now kind of getting more like it tingles and stuff.
It's not as numb, right?
It's not as numb, and that didn't feel good. Like if
No.
I were to go like that, you go, ew, gross.
Right, right.
But
Somebody
you're
could,
still swollen. It like I can wake up some days and be swollen, or I can be just at the end of the day go, God, that side feels more swollen. I mean, it takes a full year to get over it, I
it
think.
does. It does. That's what they say. But they do also say it's the gift that keeps on
I'm
giving.
giving. That's I've heard that a lot.
Yep, it's the gift
Yeah.
that keeps on giving. Um,
But it's kind
so
of like for people who had no boobs before they had a boob job, like me, none. And
yeah,
you go, oh my God, I don't even want to put a swimsuit on because I'm as flat as a board. Everything's terrible on me. Then once you get a boob job and you're okay with it and you get used to it, you're like, it's not a it's like you don't even give it a second thought.
no,
It's like we just move on.
absolutely. Absolutely. I loved having bigger boobs. And then
So
like
we
I love
did.
having a flat stomach.
Yeah, but it's like with the pictures with Alex when she got married, it would be like the photographer, I should have said ahead of time, make sure you get a good view of me too. Because it'd be like I'd be helping Alex do something and I go, ew, gross. Look at, that kind of stuff where you go,
I
should have,
know.
wish I'd had him cut that out or whatever. Now it'll be a non it. Like I won't even have to think about the angle or anything.
Right.
Because like when they film me when I'm doing Man on the Street, you go, good God. That's a
Right.
terrible
I mean,
angle.
I don't feel that. I've seen your man on the street and I've seen the older ones and I don't think that. But I felt the same way about my tummy, even though I competed with my stomach sticking out a little bit. It was always something that bothered me. And now when I do a photo shoot, like I did something for in fitness, I didn't even have to say, make sure you tell me to hold my stomach in. It was just like I had all, you know what, it just gives you this confidence to be free to be you, and you're not like you're saying, you're not self-conscious anymore. And to me, that's really important for our mental health.
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
it's I think for anything, if you do too much of anything, right? If you exercise too much, if you only eat healthy 1000% of the time and never indulge in anything ever, if you are if you do anything to one extreme, it's not healthy for us,
Mm-mm.
right? So find that moderation. So if you're somebody who becomes obsessed with plastic surgery, maybe you need to seek some help because maybe there are other things in your life that aren't working for you. I've mentioned this before. I was like a shopaholic when I was married to my ex-husband because I wasn't happy in my marriage. I wasn't having an affair. I wasn't taking drugs. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I spent a ton of money on stuff I didn't need.
Hmm.
So, and that was my outlet. And then I got help for it because I realized, oh, it's not that I want these things because I wanted to return everything. It was that it gave me that sense of power and freedom that I didn't feel I had in my marriage. So
Hmm.
if there's anything in your life that you go to an extreme to, you should really sit back and talk to somebody about it,
That's a really good point.
because
Yeah.
an extreme of anything is not good for our mental or physical well-being. So, anything else that you wanted to share about plastic surgery that maybe we didn't talk about? We've kind of gone all over the place talking about the judgment, the challenges and the rewards.
Hmm.
Um,
I
the
mean, other than really doing your research, and I don't mean just do doctors. If it takes you 4
right.
years to do a bunch of research, just do
Yes.
it.
Yes. And also if you can, I know a friend who's just crazy about doing her research, which I think is great. She likes to talk to patients of the doctor to see how their results went. Now, knowing that everybody's results are just going to be a little bit different, but how did the whole thing go? I think that's very important too.
Yeah. So don't just go to their social media page and see how everyone turned out and go, that's what I'm going to look like. Cause they're generally going to post the ones that look the best. Right.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
will. Should I share about the doctor that I went to see in who gave me a quote of $186,000 for a facelift? Yeah.
Yes. And then I want to tell you what my doctor did about giving you people to talk to. So tell us about
Yeah.
your doctor.
Yeah, so I went to I'm researching on getting a full-on facelift. So I had my upper eyes done and a lower lift of some sort. I don't even know what I had. So I sound dumb saying that. And now I need the uppers, the lowers, and a full-on facelift now. So I'm doing my research. I went to see a doctor, and her quote was $186,000. And I thought, this office is really, really nice. I don't need to be in a doctor's office that's this nice, who's going to, and then I compared her price with so many other doctors, and it was insane. So really, you've got to do your due diligence. That was my
Yeah.
first consultation. And
And I also, if I hate, I mean, this sounds bad, but if you like, would I think a facelift was worth it if I had to take out a loan? I probably
right,
wouldn't think that. I don't know, but I mean, I just want to go. It's almost like it's like you kind of have to, if you think you're going to get one, save up for it ahead of time and then
yes,
do it because it's like
yes.
you just, I don't know. It seems like that
You
would be,
don't want to live in a hovel, not having food to eat or a car to drive
yeah,
or
like there's a whole lot of
transportation.
things that go into it. You
It's
kind of
that
go,
balance. You got to find that balance. Like, do you want to be bankrupt but have a beautiful facelift? I don't know.
no,
That's where
yeah.
I feel that it gets misunderstood and people do become obsessed and they don't think it out rationally.
And maybe even these young people doing all these things, it's not cheap. I don't know how they afford it at their age. A
I
lot of it.
know.
I mean, just to get your hair done and stuff is expensive. So I think
I
that you do kind of have to go, this is not for me right now. And I mean, if you
well, it's like saving up
just
for your
like you said,
retirement.
just like you said about, yeah, if it's going to affect your retirement, that's terrible. But like you said, uh, hold on, word retrieval. Um, it's like, good God, it just went away. Hold
Doing
on.
is it talking about girls doing it too early, like in their 30s?
Yes, and
And
and paying for it, but oh, I can't
mhm,
remember where I was gonna go, Jody. Good God.
okay, but it was
Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna move on to maybe it'll come
okay,
to me.
okay.
The girl, so the doctor that I went to, she gave me 3 people to talk to who just
Oh,
had different phases. Like one was just 6 months out, one was like 8 months out, one was a little bit longer, I think.
mhm,
And so I talked to all 3 of them. They showed me pictures, they told me how everything was. Had I not talked to them, I beating myself up thinking I was gonna go back to my thought at like I did when I had my boob job.
mhm.
I almost backed out, like, I've told Joe I'm not gonna go.
Oh,
And when I
really?
talked to them on the phone, everything they said, I was like, "Okay." It was really good. It was,
Right.
and so Alex took care of me. Alex was able to talk to them afterwards, and they gave her
Yes.
advice and taking care of me, and then as I would go through things, I'd go, is this normal? And they'd be like, completely.
Yes, yes. Mine with the tummy tuck, same thing. Lexi kind of took care of me because I stayed over in the city. And I had a nurse with me overnight, and then Lexi drove me home. And then I had a nurse when I was here at home for like, but then after like 2 days, I found that having work done on, and they say having work done on your face is easier to recover from than like a tummy tuck, for
Uh,
example, or like,
Probably because you're not, I mean, think about, you don't use your stand and sit and
right. Oh my God. I
yeah.
was like walked like in the shape of a C for 2 weeks. It's a tough
Do
recovery.
you
So
wonder what Kate had done? Kate Middleton?
I don't know. Did she have work done?
Well, she had to go in, she had something with her stomach. They kept her in the
Oh,
hospital for 2 weeks. Like I think it's like maybe something inside. I don't know. But now she had to cancel everything until after Easter.
ooh, that doesn't sound like a tummy tuck.
Sounds like
Like,
I don't know what.
because the tummy tuck, I mean, I was traveling in 6 weeks.
Oh
I
yeah.
still couldn't lift any. I mean, they said you could start lifting, but I couldn't. I had to have people put something in the overhead on the plane for me. I couldn't lift it. I just said, I had surgery. I can't lift this. So
She must have had something really bad on the inside.
I hope she's okay.
I think she'll be okay, but I think she just can't do very much till after Easter, which is in
Mm.
when? March or April?
Well, look, I hope that I hope it's nothing bad, but if it's something that's cosmetic, I hope that she shares it because as we said at the beginning of the show, the more you share, the more you empower other women, the more you educate and empower other women. And there is no reason for us to not be educated in this and therefore not judging others for what they're doing. It should be do what you want to do, know the pros and cons, and don't and you know financials 101, don't spend money you don't have.
Yeah.
So if this is really important to you, then save up
Oh,
for it.
I remember what I was going to
There
say.
you go. There you
Okay. But the girl, if you're younger and you're trying to be in on these fads and spend all of this money doing these things,
Mhm.
like the lips, the whatever, the cheeks or whatever the injections and stuff are, it kind of goes back to that same thing you just said about you were shopping a lot. Like maybe
Yeah.
you need to figure out what it is you're trying to fill, that you're trying to keep up with these fads that maybe aren't really what you look like.
Yeah, and it's yes, and like and it also goes to over exercising, overeating,
Yeah.
undereating. Um, maybe you're traveling all the time. What are you trying to escape? So it's get a reality check. I know that sounds like tough love, but Kim and I are pretty tough.
Yeah.
Um, get a reality check and make sure that you've got a healthy balance in your life where your mind and your body are both very, very healthy. And so let us know how you liked this episode. We'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. There are a lot of you that have subscribed to us on YouTube, and we are so grateful for that. And we love talking to you. So let
Mhm.
us know what you think of this episode where we're talking about the messy middle of our 50s, being in your 60s, divorce, plastic surgery. I know we talked about a lot of things here, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to get into more in depth in a lot of these subjects as, two women navigating our life through our 60s and what we've learned and what we want to share with you and hoping that you get a lot of value and share this. So if you're in your 60s, maybe you want to share this with your mom or your sister, and if you're in your 30s listening to this, maybe you want to share it with your mom or somebody who's maybe a little bit older. But it's good to know when you're in your 30s this kind
Oh,
of
I wish I
stuff.
would have loved to have heard things like this in my 30s. I
Me
didn't. Yeah.
too. Me too. So we hope that this is helping everybody across the board. Again, an overview of what's to come. And so you can find us on anywhere you listen to podcasts at We're Golden. You can find us on YouTube at We're Golden. You can find Kim at Content Kim. That's with 2 Ks. And you can find me at Jody Harrison Bauer on all social media platforms. And for now, thank you for listening. And until next time, stay golden, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.